how could I possibly sit around and mentor a 14-year-old poet whose name was Tupac Shakur and also be a vice president of marketing for Donald J. Trump? How is that possible unless each little change, each little piece impacts that percolation you're talking about? I love that analogy.
Hello, and welcome to CEO Authors, the show where leaders share their stories and strategies and ideas that drive success. I'm your host, Carl Taft, and today I'm excited. Hello, and welcome to CEO Authors, the show about the ideas leaders write about and the experiences that shape them. I'm your host, Carl Taft, and today I'm excited to welcome Gary Green. Gary, it's great to have you with us today.
Cool to be here. Glad to do it.
Yeah, appreciate that. Author, journalist, Hall of Fame inductee, musician, activist through arts and storytelling. I mean, you have such an amazing story, and I could take, all our time today just talking about, your beginning journey until maybe even just through the 70s. But I'd like to get a sense, that I would say that some say it looks unconventional, right? You hopped around like we were just talking before hopping on the recording here that you have a short attention span, which I highly doubt. But it looks unconventional from the outside. So when you look at it from the inside, is there a common thread running through all of it?
Oh, that's a great question. And no one's ever asked me that question. Is there a common thread? There is, but even that common thread, I suppose, is unconventional. The common thread is a hunger for the adventure itself. Everything that I've done has been an adventure, and I didn't go into these various projects in a small way. I went into them through not going through the kitchen and knocking on the door and taking my head off and saying, "Hi, can I come in?" Yeah. No, man, I went to the wall. I plowed through the wall. And honestly, many times as I attempted to plow through the wall, those bricks would hit me in the head and knock me right back through. But what the heck? The adventure. It was all about the excitement, the adventure. And I think, too, that might be the attention span issue as well. I mean, it's not that the attention span, though I often say I have no attention span, it's not really that as much as it is, okay, that adventure is over and now it's become mundane. What can we do that's another adventure now? Let's rock.
Yeah, I got you. I love it. Let's rock. I mean, when I was, listening to it, reviewing, doing my homework, if you will, for this show, I almost felt like you have this just almost protection of the lower representative class, right? Lower representative class. So whether that's the Indian tribes, union workforce, socioeconomic disadvantaged, it seems like somehow throughout your career or through your journey, you've touched on those, I guess, areas repeatedly. I mean, what would you say about that?
That's also an interesting observation. Yeah, I mean, a guy that has spent his career doing the things you just described, but when I do a speaking engagement, I only fly first class and will only stay in a 5-star hotel. What the hell's with that? Yeah. And the deal is this, I can't say that I was raised in poverty because that's not accurate, but I can say that my father started when I was born. My father was a laborer and electrician for the old Seaboard Coast Railroad, and before that he had been a carny working in traveling carnivals through the South. And so as he, I won't say progressed, but as he expanded his own vision and eventually became a salesman and did all kinds of cool things. Yeah. That impacted me. And I never lost, there's an old Southern expression, and people hear my Southern accent. There's an old Southern expression is dance with anybody you want to, but don't forget who brung you. And who brung me is I came from very simple working class roots, and I'll never forget that. And you know what? We're the ones that make the world go around. And yes, I have been in the corridors of power, as one would say. I mean, I've been an executive in major corporations. I've been, if not friends, at least associates of 2, 3 U.S. presidents. and a number of members of Congress, lots of corporate execs. But here's the deal: at the end of the day, it is the people on what might be termed the lower rung. So I don't even think I would call it
Mm,
that. But that's who makes the world go around. That's who pays the bills, and that's why the guys that's why I can fly first class, because somebody is working their butt off to pay for that ticket. And I'll tell you, the guy working his butt off to pay for the ticket's not the one that wrote the check. So yeah, I've never lost sight of that.
yeah.
Thanks for raising that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a chemist by schooling. And when I was listening to your story and doing my research, there's this principle called the percolation effect, right? So water is an insulator, right? Like pure water is an insulator. But when you add enough like ions to it, at some point it becomes conductive, right? That's the spark, right? That's the thing that makes it happen, right? And I think about like all the people you've met and influenced, this idea of like not saying no to so many things because you like to be stimulated, at least my opinion. You can
No, you're right.
confirm or deny that. But at some point you get to a point and then all those experiences, all that background, it kind of culminates into the present moment, and then it makes things happen. And I like when I read about what you were doing, that's what I walked away with.
I love you talking about water, because think about that glass of water for a minute as it develops, as it percolates. As you monitor that glass of water, yes, from a distant observer just looking in, yeah, it's a dude playing with a glass of water there. But once you stick that thermometer in there to see what's going on, are we measuring the temperature of the water, or are we measuring the temperature of water with a thermometer in it? There is a difference
Hmm.
there,
Hmm.
and each piece of that percolation you're talking about changes where we started. Every little piece of it
Right.
adds to it or detracts from it, but it changes from what it was originally. So each new adventure that I have, yeah, it changes from what I do originally. I mean, if that were not true for me personally,
Yeah.
how could I? And I'll just reach back into my history. How could I possibly sit around and mentor a 14-year-old poet, um, whose name was Tupac Shakur,
Hmm.
and also be a vice president of marketing for Donald J. Trump? I
Hmm.
mean, how is that possible unless each little change, each little piece impacts that percolation you're
Yeah.
talking about? I
Yeah.
love that analogy.
So that's appreciate that. So what's a guiding principle that you could give to somebody that's maybe trying to think through this? Like, knowing what you know now, how do you take that knowledge and then download, at least in part, some of that idea, that philosophy to others?
It's so simple that it probably sounds cliche, and on a podcast like this, surely you've heard it before, but never stop, never give up, never say, well, damn, it doesn't work, I'm not good enough,
Mm,
maybe I should stick to this. Hell no. If you've got a dream, if you've got an idea, even if something sounds like it might be fun or cool, go do it.
yeah.
What's the worst thing that's going to happen? Okay, it's not going to work, big deal, so
Yeah.
do something else.
Yeah.
So
Love it.
so if I boil it all down, the simplest thing is never quit, never give up. I truly believe, and part of this is being raised in the 1950s on those black and white moral passion plays that were
Hmm.
westerns on television. But I truly believe that no matter what's going on in the world, your own personal world, at the last minute, at the very last second, you're going to hear the cavalry charging over the hill. You're going to hear that bugle, and they're going to come charging over the hill. I truly believe that when that helicopter falls off the side of the building and Lois is hanging on it and she's falling, out of nowhere, Superman's going to jump up. Despite the physics of that being impossible, Superman is going to jump up and catch that helicopter and her. I live by those principles. I believe.
I love that. It struck me listening to your story. So you're a folk singer. I'm not even a folk singer. You're a folk songwriter, I think, as it was termed, right? And you're introducing your works to maybe some others that we all might know their names and about them. And they're like, I like it, but I dare not sing that or I'm going to get run out of Nashville in a different time, right?
You did your research, indeed. Yes.
So what propels you to move forward as opposed to listening to that person on the other side of the table that comes with a whole hell of a lot of credibility and knowledge and background, and for you to say like, okay, they're not going to do it, but they like it, but shit, I'm still going to go for it.
Okay. Well, you know, when you get rejected, it doesn't, going forward, as I say, always push forward. Doesn't mean that you don't get bummed out. Man, I get seriously bummed out about stuff. You know, when they slammed the doors on me in Nashville 50 years ago,
Yeah.
yeah, that was not fun, man. That was bad stuff. Made me feel terrible. You know, there was a very famous at the time, very famous recording artist, Nashville musician that I went into his office. He played a tape of me, and his response was, "Okay, who sent you? This is a joke, right?" I mean, what does an 18-year-old do when he hears that from a professional, especially
Right.
somebody that sold millions of records?
Right.
It's like, man, I should go back to wherever I came from and give up on this BS. Um, but I keep going on anyway because for every 10 of those people that slam the door on you, there's one that'll stop and go, man, this is interesting. And I don't mean necessarily in a financially successful way, but in a way that, you know, you hear it in your head and, you know, I reach someone gets it. I'll give you an example. You're talking about people recording my stuff. I didn't want to be a singer because I can't sing. I mean, you know, you know, in fairness, neither can Johnny Cash or Bob Dylan, but I can't sing. So I thought of myself as a writer who sometimes, going back to the old days, sometimes I'd use a typewriter and sometimes I would use a guitar or a piano. I was just a writer trying to, and I had things to say. So I was just trying to say stuff. But I found that if my writing, whether it is in my books or in public speaking or in my songs, if it gets to one person, then it was successful. Frank Black, lead singer of the Pixies, uh, heard my stuff in the Smithsonian collection and heard one of my songs and went, damn, I like that song, and recorded it. And, you know, that made me happy because guess what? I reached somebody. They got it.
Yeah.
When I write books, yeah, it's really good when they become bestsellers. I mean, I had one book that actually became a bestseller, and that's a good thing, and you make a lot of money from that. But at the same time, if I write a book and 5 people read it and enjoy it, then I'm a happy puppy. I mean, the message got out. When Folkways Records first recorded me, when Mo Ash,
Mm-hmm.
legendary founder of Folkways Records, uh, right after he put out maybe my first or second album, he was interviewed by a very famous British rock and roll journal, and they asked him point blank, "You've rejected a lot of people at Folkways Records.
Yeah.
You rejected Bob Dylan. Why did you record somebody like Gary Green?" Okay, on one hand, that makes me feel like shit, but that aside, Mo's response was quick. He didn't even have to think about it. Mo said, "I heard Gary Green and he had something to say, and I thought people needed to hear what he had to say." And that's not to say other people don't have anything to say,
Mm-hmm.
but to me, that
Right.
said Mo got it. He heard what I was saying, and it worked. So that's the driving force there. Let me add too that you know I talk about it in terms of music, but it's true through business. It's true through interpersonal relationships. It's true about everything. It all comes down, really. I mean, as I think about it, I've never said it like this before, but talking with you as I think about it, it really comes down to communications. Or are we communicating?
Yeah.
In my one of my early careers, I was a newspaper reporter, and I had myself locked in the county jail so I could write about the experience of being in jail. And when I got out, I wrote the feature story, and my city editor called me over to his desk, and he just chewed my butt out
Mm.
because I had a sentence in there that said I felt like I was zooed. Zooed. Now you got it. You understood it. The people listening to this, I understand what I'm
Mhm.
saying. My editor said that's not a word. That's a noun. You cannot turn a noun into a verb. That is not a word. And my reaction, besides go, do something to
Yeah.
yourself.
Right.
My reaction was I communicated. If the words, whatever came out of my mouth,
Right.
if it communicated, then it's been successful. There is no one that can read that and not get what I was talking about when I say I was zooed inside that jail. And that's communication. It's all about communicating. Even if you look at marketing, if you look at sales, what is sales and marketing but communication? What is branding
Yeah.
but communication? I wrote a book about branding, and it really is all about communicating. It's just how do you do that communication?
Right.
What level do you do it on, and where do you grab them? How do you touch them?
So what's the message or thought that you'd like our listeners to kind of embody or resonate on right now?
All the old cliches: be true to yourself, question authority, always question. That editor I was talking about, he was a great editor. I mean, he taught me the newspaper business inside out. But question authority. I mean, that guy at the time, I was a young reporter. I was 23, 24 years old. That guy was probably 60 years old.
Mm.
He had been in the newspaper business his entire career. He knew it really well. He knew every little nuance of the business. He was lecturing me on the business. But I went on and was nominated for the Pulitzer twice. In his dreams, he would like to be nominated for the Pulitzer. I wasn't nominated for the Pulitzer because I'm a great writer, because I'm smarter than anybody else. I did it. I was nominated because I communicated. What I was trying to say, communicated with people. So what the message I would give to people that are seeing and hearing this is I would say communicate, brand, listen. It's all about communications and never give
I
up.
think a lot of people go through life on autopilot, and they're not, maybe living a life that's true to themselves. And I know that might raise some eyebrows with some of our listeners, but you just kind of, it's easy. So you just keep trudging along. I mean, what would you say to somebody that's, struggling with that concept and wants to live a life true to themselves? Is there anything that you've learned over your years that you might want to
Wouldn't it
mention?
wouldn't it be sad to be on your deathbed, prepared to die, and your last thought on this earth would be, what if only I had tried to, and then you're gone? Why live like that? If there's something you should try to do, go do it. Damn it, go do it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, fine.
Yeah.
Then go back to your comfort zone or go to something else. But it would just be so sad to have a life at the very end of your life. You even whether it's business, whether it's a person, what would it have been like if I had asked her out on a date? What would it have been like if I hadn't been afraid to brand myself? What would it be like if I didn't stay in the back room, hidden in the closet? I think that's tragically sad.
Mm.
I think people should always try to do everything. I want to emphasize again, as I say this over and over, though. Yes, there are failures. I could write I should write my next book on all the shit I failed at, man. There's a lot of stuff. But along the way, you find lots of good people.
Yeah.
You learn a lot, and you take all that with you because your glass of water there is percolating.
Yeah.
You take that with you, and it percolates to the next bubble that rises to the top.
100%. 100%. So what are some of the next hills that Gary Green's trying to tackle? What are you working on?
As always, I have a lot of things floating at one time right now. I'm writing a new book, which I'm about 1/3 of the way through. I'm writing a book called Trust Me, and it's a nonfiction book about scams. Over the years, especially in the casino industry, as I financed a lot of casinos,
Mm-hmm.
more and more people come to me with these brilliant ideas that someone has pitched to them that they're going to finance this or they're going to finance that. And not only 9 times out of 10 is it BS, but it dawned on me one day that it's the same pattern. I have people coming to me, bringing me a standby letter of credit. And that sounds like that's something really interesting and that will really work in financing stuff. But a standby letter of credit is not a financial instrument that trades on the market. It's a very specific financial instrument for one particular purpose. But if these con people use enough sophisticated sounding terms, then then they can bring in the cons. And I mentioned that one in particular because I was just doing research for this chapter I'm working on.
Mm-hmm.
And last year, or actually this year, 2025, according to the FBI in the U.S., victims spent $92 million to con people on standby letters of credit. And it occurred to me, most people don't even know what the hell a standby letter of credit is. And I see them constantly, and I see all these other scams. So I started putting together a book called Trust Me. And I list probably, I don't know, it's going to be probably about 250, 300 pages, talking about all these different scams that are out there. And it's not a textbook. I don't go through and just academically list this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I have some very real situations that I've come across over the years, and friends of mine have been scammed by, and that's going to be a fun book. So I'm working on that. I'm working for 2026. I am working on an in-person tour. I get a lot of requests to talk about, okay, so what's Gary Green been doing for 50 years, 60 years, 70 years?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to do I've got a little show that lasts about between 75 and 90 minutes called An Evening with Gary Green. And it's pretty much an extemp thing. I show up with a guitar and a stool, and I sit on stage, and sometimes I'll play a song or two and talk about it, or sometimes I will just talk about adventures over the years. For example, I was talking to a producer in Canada. It wants to book me throughout the provinces in Canada, and he wants me to focus on talking about my years working for Donald Trump. And if there is a conflict, the conflict between that and my own political outlook. And so it's a very free flowing kind of thing. I'm working on that. And I'm in the process of financing a casino in northern Nevada. So that's a fun little project. And those are the projects. I mean, we're recording this in at the very end of 2025. For all practical purposes, this is 2026 already. This is January already. A week from now, I may have 4 or 5 other projects on the table. Again, my attention span is this long, so it depends on what grabs me.
So I got to ask, I know you have some nerve damage in your hand, right? Is it your right or left hand?
Right hand.
And you can still play guitar, and that doesn't affect you. You mentioned on that tour. I mean, I guess there's different levels, but
when before I punched the guy through the plate glass window, I think I was a pretty good guitarist. I think I was a really good guitarist. And it wasn't just my opinion. I mean, there were people who are good guitarists. Hell, I taught guitar at a university. So, but after that, I'm not I can't play as well as I used to. The good news is it was my right hand, and for guitar players out there, you finger with your, assuming you're right-handed, you finger with your left hand. But no, it's not as good as it used to be, but it's still effective. I mean, I've got a producer in Vegas that keeps insisting that I record a new album. And so, I might do that.
Yeah.
But yes, I do have damage to my right hand. I used to have a very, very bad temper. I mean, it was a crazy temper. And then after I punched a guy through a plate glass door, the window, my temper went away, and I am the most laid back cat you've ever seen. And that was in the early 1980s. So, I mean, it's been decades, and I am so laid back.
It's nowhere near what you went through, from what I can tell from previous research. But I shattered my nose, and in a similar situation, and thought, enough's enough.
Right, exactly.
Time to tone it down a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so now, it all makes for a great story. I mean, if I get on a roll talking about punching that guy out, it's a good story. It's a fun story. And when I was writing the book, it also allowed me to do an anchor for the comic book version of it came out. There's actually a comic book version of one of my books, or excuse me, a graphic novel version. It's a comic book. And
Amazing.
so yeah, makes for cool stories.
Amazing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like the story you were telling. Just kind of a sidebar about I think you're didn't have two pennies to rub together and you're in New York and you're playing and there's a collection and you started singing, I think, um, religious hymns, if you will, and somebody of
Oh my
prominence
God,
played behind you or sung behind you. Is that right?
it totally blew me away. I was singing. I was standing, literally standing on a street corner on the west side, Upper West Side of New York, standing in front of a little taco stand, and I'm singing "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot," old Southern gospel song,
Yeah.
and it's got a real. My voice isn't right for it, but it's got
Mhm.
a real booming bass kind of line. So I'm sitting there and I give the strum on it, and I looked over Jordan, and what did I see? And I hear this huge baritone booming voice behind me coming in, finishing the next line of the song. And I'm like, what the hell? And when I turn around and look, it was Reverend Frederick Douglass Kirkpatrick. Now, that name is not on the tip of everyone's tongue, but let me tell you about Brother Kirk as he was known. Um, Among the things this cat was known for, well, first of all, one entire generation knows him because he was a semi regular on Sesame Street. He would show up playing guitar and singing on Sesame Street. A previous generation knows him because he was one of the inner circle of Dr. Martin Luther King. He founded a group within Southern Christian leadership called the Deacons, and he's often called the troubadour of the Poor People's March on Washington in 1964. And he was a civil rights icon. He recorded probably 50 albums,
Hmm.
and the guy was just legendary. And so not only was I getting to meet Brother Kurt, but the dude's singing with me, and then wants to hang out with me. So
Yeah.
yeah. And I've been very fortunate in that people like that I've stumbled across over the years,
I
and it's literally stumbling across them.
Yeah, yeah. There's quite a few, I think, scenarios or situations like that where you describe in your past. And if people want to learn more about that sort of thing and how your Superman just came up and held the helicopter up and grabbed Lois at the time of need, what is there a book or something that you can point to that they can reference?
Oh boy, I get to shamelessly pitch.
Shamelessly, yes,
Shamelessly. Okay, so this is called the Legend Dies On.
yes, sir.
You know, there's a cliche, the legend lives on. Hell, I'm no legend, so I said the legend dies on. That book is as close to an autobiography as I can get. It starts with where I started. It goes
Mm,
through a lot of those, especially the really crazy adventures through the 70s, uh,
amazing.
through the 80s, ended up owning a Russian circus. And it takes all the way through to being inducted to the California Music Hall of Fame. The governor of Maryland last year, maybe this year, issued a special citation from the people of Maryland. And the coolest one, people always ask, what do you want your legacy to be? I have living legacy. I mean, yes, my albums are part of the Smithsonian, and they'll
Right.
be there forever in the Smithsonian. But also on the floor of the United States Congress, they said all kinds of nice things about me, and it's in the congressional
Mhm.
record about my music and my writing and my work in various movements over the years. So,
Amazing.
so there's the legacy, man. It lives out. I have physical immortality. So how cool is that? That's more than you could wish for.
100%. Life well lived. Gary, it was great spending time with you. Thanks so
It,
much.
Thank you. This was very cool. As you can see, I get on a roll and I can just go on and on. And I'll tie it all back to the beginning at your very first question. People have now seen how I get on a roll and I get passionate about things. That's what I do with all of these different businesses and adventures and enterprises I get involved in because I get on a roll and it's exciting. And I when I used to teach people to do television, I would tell them if you're being interviewed for television, sit on the edge of your seat. So it always looks like you're ready to jump off your seat because it engages the host who's sitting on the couch across from you. And it gets really exciting. And the reason I knew to do that wasn't because that's textbook information. I knew to do that because it's what I do and it works. It's just my life. So again, thank you for letting me share it on here. And this was very cool. And incidentally, I did homework too. I looked at some of your podcasts, and you've got quite a collection out there, my friend.
Yeah.
Really nice work.
Appreciate you. For our listeners that want to find out more about Gary, they can go to garygreen.com. They can find you on LinkedIn. Is there anything else that I'm missing? Buy your books on Amazon or wherever you're buying your books.
Go to Amazon, go to Barnes and Noble. There's lots of Gary Green websites out there. Some of them I do, some of them my agent does, some of them other people do. There's a Gary Green Technology. There's a Gary Green Talks. There's a Gary Green Music. Just look for me. I'm out there. What the heck?
Awesome. Awesome. To our listeners out there, thanks for tuning in. Join us next time. Gary, pleasure.
Thank you.